Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today I would like to share with you all my final thoughts on the Microtech knives model MSI. A little bit weird announcing it because this literally means Microtech standard issue, so you're essentially saying Microtech standard issue. Kind of weird, doesn't matter, don't care. But what I do care about is sharing with you guys how incredible this is. This knife has truly made me rethink what carrying a larger knife can do for you. And I'm not even talking about the tactical or self-defense aesthetic. I'm talking about the utility behind it, the comfort, the size, the confidence when making cuts, wielding such a thing in the workplace. At least me, I go through a lot of cardboard and plastic, and really something around the 3-inch or 2.75-inch blade length is all that I truly actually need and use. But this thing has been a dream, an absolute dream to use. I did have some ups and downs when using this, mainly talking about the finishing of some parts of it. We'll get into that a little bit later. We'll go through some size comparisons. We'll take the weight. We'll show off some cutting. I'll share, a couple little things that I've done to this, and we're just gonna blab and share, and I'm just gonna talk your guys' ears off and have a good time while doing so. So, this thing is freaking sick. I highly recommend it. If you guys can get your hands on one, go for it. Do not hesitate. What you see before you is a fully US built knife. You have FRN, or I believe it's injection molded plastic. It smells like a burnt tire, but you get used to it. Not often are you actually going to be sticking this so close to your face that you can smell that, but that's something that I noticed. A little bit weird. I don't typically just sit there and sniff my knife. That's just weird. I promise, I swear I don't do that, but that's just something I noticed. This also has I wouldn't call it a proprietary blade material, but it is a slightly tweaked blend of M390. This is M390 MK, and in the use, I've sharpened this twice now, mainly because I dropped this right on the edge the same day that I got it, and I practically cried. Just because I essentially ruined the edge immediately. I dropped it on the floor, and I chewed up a section that was right here, maybe a little bit closer to the tip, but it buffed right out. The edge that's on here, it is just stupid incredible. And I was dead wrong about how this thing was gonna go through thicker material. Around the time that I got this, I had a ginormous pile of just bulk grocery boxes, a lot of produce stuff. I'm talking triple walled and corrugated cardboard boxes, the heavy stuff, the thick stuff, right? I know you guys know what I'm talking about. But this went through that like a champ, and it took everything like nothing. It went through it like butter. Not a laser beam, you could definitely feel it, but because of the size, the shape, it lent itself so well to making super powerful utility cuts. And it's just I got so much to say about this. This thing is truly wonderful. Let's get into some size comparisons now. And I even have a handful of other larger knives in my collection that, while I love and enjoy having, I don't use as often as I probably could. But again, if you guys have been watching my channel for whatever period of time, you guys know that I gravitate towards smaller knives. It's just my thing. But I've had such a difficult time keeping this out of the pocket because it is just that good. Let's do some comparisons now. This is the Spyderco PM2, and the MSI is bigger than that. Many people consider the PM2 to be a large or full-size knife, and yeah, it's bigger than that. Here we have the Praxis. Before, this was the big boy in the collection. Let's do some other stuff. The Vision FG. And just a sec, just imagine with me if Microtech decided to shrink this down and make it the size of the Vision FG, oh man, that would be just incredible. Now I do understand that manufacturing things scaled down but to the same quality, fit, and finish and tolerances is on the more difficult side. I know it's possible, they can do it, they probably won't, but it would be my dream if they did. But that would be just, that would truly be like my #1 knife to really use. Here we have standard Benchmade bug out. Let's do 2 more here, more on the compact side. Spyderco Native 5 and f5.5. So those 2 are ones that I gravitate towards more just because of their overall shape, stature, how it feels in hand and all. Share some larger things in my collection. Full-size Doug Ritter Hogue. Hinder Knives XM18 3.5. Again, 2 knives that I don't use too often, or at least carry to work, but I do use them quite a bit at home just for fun. And then one last one, the Good Boy, Best Techman Good Boy. Definitely a big boy for sure. I would love to see this shrunken down as well. Same tolerances and button lock action, but there's that. And also something else that I'm going to be doing a lot of comparing to, mainly because of the lock. This is the Spyderco Manix 2. This particular one, Brown G10, the 15V, Triple B collaboration. This thing's freaking sick. Love using it, love taking it to work. But in talking about the lock, you interact with the MSI quite similarly to how you do crossbar lock style knives with Omega springs or actual coil springs. This is utilizing a coil spring. But one of the main differences between the two is the MSI's coil spring, it's on the larger side, but it's exposed. So some people may not like that. If you're gonna actually like take this out to a dirtier, grimier environment, you might get stuff built up in there, it might get a little gritty, it might get gross, and it might start to actually wear on the action, which is unfortunate. One good thing about the Manix design is that you do have this this plate right here that actually covers, so the spring is actually housed in there. But the shape of the contact point is completely different. The MSI, it is straight tang contact to a giant block that is heavily machined, and that is the ram lock itself. There is no secondary little part that it rides on or makes contact like on the Spyderco ball lock. So you have a plastic cage that has a little steel ball inside, and that rides on the actual tang, allowing just some of the stupidest butter smooth action you could ever really ask for. It is just incredible, super clicky. If you guys have a Manix, you guys know what I'm talking about. Once these things break in, it is just stupid good. That is very different to my experience with the MSI, mainly because of how things were finished. Now this is what I would consider to be a budget USA knife. This is still just under $200, so it's a good chunk of money, and a lot of people would say that's not a budget knife. It's a budget USA knife. What I'm talking about, stuff that this competes with, are things build quality by stuff from Hogue, right? The full-size Doug Ritter Hogue, if they've gone on sale or maybe early on, they float around that price range as well. You have the Hogue Deca that has the upgraded blade material with the magnet cut. Super awesome that it has magnet cut, but you can get more affordable versions with I believe FRN scales and 20 CV. Very well heat treated, good quality fit and finish. I love Hogue knives. They're awesome, they're sick. Also something else that a lot of people crap on, rightfully so, it's a Benchmade company. Benchmade does a lot of kind of well, budgety USA knives. Some of their stuff is outlandish when we're talking about price, of course, versus the build quality and how it stacks up towards standards nowadays within this hobby. But the bug out itself, it's a wonderful knife after you modify it. My example, of course, has been heavily modified, and I love it for how it is currently. But brand new out of the box, it is very underwhelming. It is a wonderful design and silhouette, of course, but it's a budget USA build, right? But it's on the smaller side. Maybe at one point they thought about making a large bug out, which is, I think, would have been really cool, a better direction than making the mini bug out. While I'm still seeking out a mini bug out, possibly. I think that a lot of people would enjoy a larger bug out. I think it'd be pretty cool. Keeping it at a reasonable price point, but chances are if a large bug out ever came out, it's going to be around $600 most likely. So that's unfortunate. But for this being the price that it is, there is a crap load of value in this knife. Talking about the finish of the edge and the blade itself, I mean, just look at this thing. This thing is gorgeous. You can beat the absolute tar out of this, and because of this super tight grained stone wash with a slight polish over it, it's gonna hide a lot of use for a very long time. I love this. This is excellent and beautiful. And on the flat here, you have some satin. I don't mind it. It is very minimal, but even after some use, I can see some scratches in certain lights. So, I mean, there's that. You can see the little nick right there. To me, that stands out like a sore thumb, but that's just me, right? Very nitpicky, I know. Let's do weight. Now again, for the size of this thing, the weight, it's honestly pretty impressive. Just under 5 ounces, 4.7, nothing to really complain about. Not a pocket brick whatsoever. It's not gonna hold you down. I actually have carried this a lot in basketball shorts, and it didn't weigh me down whatsoever. So that's pretty darn cool. The price on this thing, I believe, was $176 or $178. After taxes, it's still under $200, which I think is incredible for what you're getting here. It does have these like FRN scales, and while it's not, it feels a little cheap, a little plasticky, but that's what injection molded plastic or FRN is. Kind of like the stuff that's on the bug out, but significantly thicker. And let's see if I could actually show off a lot of the pocketing inside. If they left this full thickness, it wouldn't be such a good idea. I know, a little difficult to see in there, but this is completely milled out, but structured in a way to where you have zero flex on this. It feels very substantial on hand, and I truly enjoy it. Let's talk about the hardware on this thing, and if I can direct your attention to the pivot here, I swapped around the pivot just for fun. It's a T20, all the body, including the clip, which is reversible. They're all T8s. That is wonderful. That is a true enthusiast nitpick right there, and I know a lot of people are going to enjoy that and definitely appreciate it. You have a very large hole there for a lanyard. Don't know why you would need a lanyard, because there's just so much knife to actually grip and pull out of your pocket. Deep carry, of course, you have essentially nothing sticking into your pocket. So there's that. One of the little things that I had trouble with was I did have some up and down play out of the box. Wasn't the biggest fan of that, right? Nobody would be. But I had to remember that this is essentially a crossbar lock, ball lock, coil spring knife design. Almost all those other ones have up and down. The Manix with the ball lock, at first it had some up and down. After using it a butt ton, cleaning it, reassemble, it's very minimal, but you can muscle it and you can actually feel it up and down. With the full-size Doug Ritter Hogue, yeah, same thing there. with the Benchmade bug out. That's probably one of the oldest ones in the collection, so it's definitely definitely worn in. But you know what, even now I can muscle it, I can feel it, I know it's there. It's in your bug out most likely as well, so if you know, you know. It's just kind of a thing, but they're solid, they're very sturdy for sure. I do enjoy the lockup and solidity, and I have a good bit of confidence while using it. I don't think it's going to fail whatsoever. And talking about failing, that's something that a couple of people have reported, that the actual ram lock, it can slip quite easily. But honestly, at least in my example, there's a lot of travel before it slips. There's like, it's like that much travel before it actually starts, before you can actually go past. It's right about here, so midway between the travel, that it could actually, you know, slip and the blade can come down. This is riding on bearings, which of course is quite different than what you expect from a knife this price range and being in the US, because essentially everything else is running on washers, which I think it would have been pretty cool if this was running on some thick washers. It would break in beautifully, but it's cool. It's on bearings. They're on, I believe, Teflon. So it's like a Teflon cage, but they're ceramic bearings, which is wonderful. So, and you can really crank down on the pivot to get 0 side to side, and that's where this thing is at. And even still, it just comes straight down. You can disengage and kind of like wiggle it down if you want, but I was a little scared at first because I thought the action on this was going to be really floppy to where you can, you know, shake it out and kind of whip it out. No, not at all. This thing is quite sturdy. There is a butt ton of retention to how everything is shaped. And I think that one of the little modifications that I did really helped it out. If you look here at the tang of the blade, this portion rides against that actual ram lock right there. Out of the box, very crunchy, gritty. It was almost really dry feeling and would kind of skip a lot. And you would feel it when you go to slow roll. It would get kind of stuck right here and there, and eventually you can lock it out. And it wasn't fluid. It was kind of gross, a little discouraging, and it had a butt ton of lock sticks. So much so where I had to go and, you know, disengage it with 2 hands because it would just stick so much because of all that surface tension. What I went ahead and did, just kind of sat there and thought for a second, well, what are finishes that have been done to other knives that are, I guess, made similarly? So the Manix, look at that, it's polished actually, and it's stupid butter smooth, right? Okay, well, that's a cool idea there. On the Vision FG, that's super high polished, and out of the box, and even now after this thing has been well used and broken in, it is just butter smooth. Super easy to slow roll. You don't feel any sort of kind of grittiness or crunchiness or any kind of seizing up of any surface, and it is just excellent. So what I did is I disassembled the knife, took it, scrubbed it on this leather strap right here, and it's made a world of a difference. The lock stick is almost completely gone whether I slow roll, and even if I slow roll, solid lockup. If I flick it really hard, solid lockup, zero stick. It is absolutely wonderful to use. This thing has been a true dream to use. I have essentially 0 complaints about this. I just hope that one day companies like Original Goat or Flightanium would offer some upgraded scales. That would be just beautiful if they were in carbon fiber. I'm not a fan of aluminum, but I'm sure someone's gonna come out with something in aluminum, so you guys can take those. I'll hold out for some titanium stuff. That's just me personally, but I would love to see this around the same size as a Vision FG, and that's really it. It's just an incredible design. The blade material, the finish of the actual edge is incredible. Using it is wonderful. How it feels in hand is excellent. And to me, while it does look tactical and super robust and kind of funky looking, I think it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It truly is. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your guys' support and your patience, of course. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing because I have plenty more videos and content coming you guys this way. And with that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day.